Hi everyone, my name is Vili and you're listening to Humans of Authenticity, the CEO Special Edition. Our guest today is Tammy Dillard Steels, Executive Director of the National Dental Association. She has been one of the person who I've been looking up to, especially after attending her session at the ASA annual meeting last year. So I'm so looking forward to the conversations with us today. Welcome to Humans of Authenticity, Tammy.
Thank you for having me. And I'm Tammy Dillard Steels. And currently, I'm the executive director of the National Dental Association. We're an organization that helps over 7,000 African American dentists in the United States. We have a three-pronged mission. We want to make sure that we are serving the African American dentist population, but we also want to make sure there's a next generation of African American dentists. And third, we serve the people that our dentists serve that are underserved. And I said the word serve a lot because that's what we do. I often say that anybody that know me in the association world know that I often say this is career 2.5. I started off as a safety manager, an industrial hygienist. And from that, I evolved. I moved on to start my own nonprofit organization. And I also thought I created association management because I had members, we had programs, we had volunteers, we had everything that an association does. And then I learned about Association Forum in Chicago and found out that there's a whole profession out there that does it the way that I thought I created. And then I switched to Career 2.5. I started working in associations for about over 12, 13 years now. And I've been evolving in the association space. I've started off as a director, moved on to multiple directors positions, and then executive director, CEO. We'll talk more about that.
Thank you so much for that. I still remember that day when you were presenting your segment during the pre-con. I saw you were very sure about your path, very confident about your choice, and very passionate about where you are at. Can you give me a bit of an insight to what motivated you, what kept you grounded during that journey?
Well, what kept me grounded is the fact that I am a very focused person. And I know that I need to connect with my work in order to do the best I can, no matter what. I'm a natural leader. So me evolving to actually becoming the executive director was a natural phase for me because even when I was in my other job path of safety and health, I've always led safety departments and things of that nature. So leading an organization wasn't always the path because I gave up my organization in hopes in the back of my mind to lead an organization. I was willing to learn association and start off as a director and work my way up. Okay, you told me to be honest. I'm not having too many people tell me what to do. I know you're always going to have a boss. I know you're always going to have a boss, but I can lead pretty well. I understand pretty well. And I think with associations, I love the marriage of having a subject matter expert and a business expert come together, and I put the vision together and execute it. So it's kind of was always in my spirit, and I enjoy it.
I love how you coined the term, I'm a natural leader. Can you describe what that means for me?
So I am the youngest of 10. And when I say that, people are like, oh, you were the baby. I was not. I took care of the family majority of the time. I had to take care of my mother, who got older. Currently, I am responsible for my eldest brother. And I've always been that person. They used to call me the matriarch of my family. So I've always been the person that people depended on, went to, and a great problem solver naturally throughout life. And to go back to high school, I was class vice president 2 years in a row. I never wanted to be the president because they did nothing in high school. But the vice president organized all the events and did all the work. So I've been on this leadership journey most of my life.
Youngest of 10. That's cool. How does it feel growing up with 10 siblings together?
First to do things that I had to do because when you're the youngest, I have a sister that's 18 years older than me, and I have a brother who I'm taking care of now who is 15 years older than me. There's a respect and revere when you're the youngest to treat them in a different manner. So it is, I guess, grooming me to be a leader, but that's the nicest way I could put that. It's grooming me. I've been groomed all my life to lead.
You've been groomed all your life to lead. I love that. The other thing I also want to pick on from the story you shared earlier is that you didn't have too many people telling you what to do.
I always choose leadership because I've always been, and I'm working on that, to be honest. We talked about a challenge in life. I've been actually going to counseling and trying to work through that positive because sometimes that could be a very big negative. So being the ED, you report to either the president or the board chair. But when working for a small organization, the whole board thinks you report to them. And I'm not used to that. So that was a challenge in one of my positions of where I just was stubbornly not trying to listen to everybody because I'm not used to listening to 10 people tell me what to do, and I'm running the organization. So your positives in life can sometimes turn to a negative. It's a challenge sometimes to overcome, and I am working through that. And I do communicate more and to get better understanding of maybe what they really want or work through our president to better define how to get things done. But I learned to incorporate them and not just say no. And that's the young Tammy ED. So that's a lesson learned.
I want to pause on this point a little bit because lately it came to me as a light bulb moment about the dynamics between ourselves and the person who we report to, as well as the person who report to us. And within this dynamic, personality come a lot into the conversation. You know, core values, their likes and dislikes come into the conversation a lot. And if one of us within that dynamic is oblivious about the person behind the interactions and behind the work, then the connection between the trio can be easily broken. So I just want to pause here to nut out what's the best way for us to navigate this dynamic to make sure that in your positions as a leader of an organization, we can bring people along to the work that we do. At the same time, what I'm hearing is establishing some boundaries so they understand your working style too. Do you have any
Yes.
insight on that for us?
I do think it's important to know thyself and to not get caught up in the title of the role. And being a young ED, I can honestly tell you right now, I got caught up in the title of the role. And, the first time out, excited, you go through all these classes at ASAE that tell you the ideal way of an organization should run, but that's not reality most of the time. And I think you said it so well, personality matching. I think it's beyond personality matching, but I do think there's an awareness of each other and creating a relationship, which is hard sometimes coming in new and there's a culture that you aren't fully aware of. So there's a learning curve that has nothing to do with the job, that you must learn about the culture. You must learn about the actual job that you're doing. And then the third component, when you're talking about your staff, you must have your staff work in a way that the board sees as conducive or members see as conducive too. So it's a balancing act.
I'm interested in what you say earlier about get tied up in the title of the role. Was there an example that you can share with us?
Sure. I think you work very hard to get to that point. Just the interview process of becoming an executive director is a 2-3 month process. So you're triumphant, at that point of saying, I did this, I am the ED. And you hear, again, I have to go back to the idealistic way of how things should be done. And sometimes they don't align. So you get caught up in the fact of who and what you thought you worked so hard to get into, but you did not understand the role. And each role I've had at every organization from CEO to ED to director, what is on paper is not what you do every day. It's how you do it every day. So that's what I mean by getting caught up in a role, because a title is, and they can break down every item that you're supposed to do. But if you are abrasive and not connecting with your people that you're serving, I don't care if you are doing everything right. It just doesn't come off right.
Okay, so I'm hearing a little bit of awareness of our own values, awareness of our own positions, and then we open that Pandora box of the reality, and we have to somehow put ourselves into that Pandora box and make it work.
I do think that there's a work authenticity versus who you are when we're at our conference enjoying each other among our peers. I'm not that same person when I'm with my board. And there's a component of me that is going to continuously be authentic. I'm going to laugh. If I can't work at a place where I can't laugh, I can't have some space to make mistakes and all of those things, that's not the environment for me. I don't like a sterile environment. So those are maybe some core authentic things about me that will not change. However, some people call it code switching, some people call it adjustments. You have to make some adjustments with the audience that you're serving. Just like you know yourself, you have to know your audience. And coming to work, your authentic self is different because your audience is different.
Thank you so much for segmenting it out for me. And I think this is a good segue for us to move to the keyword discussion. So first of all, can you share with our audience what's your selected keyword? And second, why it is important to talk about it?
So I was trying very hard not to say it all through the conversation. As you see, I was
Me too.
going around it. I was alignment. And I started off saying I was at career 2.5. I may be at career 3.0 really soon. And it's important to me, as I said, when you have those core parts of you that are authentic and that needs to show up every day, and you can't do that, then you're out of alignment. And if you are out of alignment, then you can't be authentic even in your professional world. So I think that there are some core key personality traits inside people. There's some core key knowledge that I am aware of and know that aligns with what I know to put budgets together. I know to do great customer service. I know to do some great change management skills. I'm not comfortable representing as the expert. And if that's an expectation, and you'll learn in associations, some associations do have the people from their professions come up the rank and become executive directors. They're comfortable with that because they can do both of that. So that would be, for me, a very uncomfortable, unaligned job. And so I need to be aligned from that. And then I can go on, but I'll let it look like you want to ask the question.
I'm 100% agree with you that the alignment piece is an important piece. So a couple of things I want to ask you. Where do you start the alignment work? Do you start from the recruitment phase? Do you start from the search phase? Do you start from the first day you get into the role? Where should we start this conversation?
And I'll share my wisdom. Initially, my alignment was with money. And I'll be very honest with people. So you see, I can do this job and it's going to give me this much of an increase. I'm going to apply for it. So as I am evolving, I need to be aligned with the mission of an organization. So I took some time off last year. I actually chose this organization after taking time off because I aligned with the mission. But we evolve and we keep evolving. I wouldn't be at career 2.5, me in particular, if I was not a person who loves to learn and grow and become whoever I am my best next. So as I am evolving, I think the alignment now for me is a place where I can feel very comfortable at, a place where I can grow intellectually for my profession of the things I've chosen to do, from nonprofit management to association management to fundraising. Those are the things I enjoy now. I learned some of the things from a professional perspective that not only I'm good at, but I enjoy doing. So now my alignment is starting, as you alluded to, before the search. So it's very important for you to research not just the job in the company. LinkedIn is very good at connecting somebody from the company and learn about the company, learn about the culture, learn about really what the job is before you get there, so that you can align from that standpoint. And then I started applying because I didn't used to do that.
Thank you. You mentioned Career 2.5 a couple of times.
Mhm.
Are you comfortable sharing with us what did version 1 look like?
Okay, so version 1, I am a scientific background. I have a BS in environmental health. I have a master's in public health, and I wanted to save the world. So in saying that, I went to health and safety in the corporate world. I was saving lives because I was preparing people with proper protective equipment, making sure that I did the analysis. I worked for the railroad at one time. If there was a train derailment and some toxic materials came out, I was doing the right analysis before anybody could come in, touch the ground, touch the air. I used to be in a full level A suit. So I did the toxicology and all of that and sent stuff to labs. And then I woke up and said, I want to be pretty. No, I'm just joking. Because working in the field, you have to have steel toe shoes, boots on, was one of the things I didn't like about safety. But also, we had an issue in our community. My children were young. I was a Girl Scout leader. And this is 20 years ago, before they had fresh food in every store. We lived in the south side of Chicago, and in our community, we didn't have allow for just granola bars 20 years ago. So we worked together, and I started Urban Sustainability just as a Girl Scout leader for my troop to advocate for fresh vegetables, shelving area for healthy foods, and we won. And then through that, being one of the founders, I was really pushed. Everybody said, why don't you do it full time? And so that's what got me to 2.0.
That's so cool. Just to conceptualize your journey a little bit, we start with our academic background, went into the world, work it up, and then one day wake up with something bigger than what we are currently doing. So we start talking about that mission driven here. Is that what I'm hearing towards the end of your version 1?
Yes, it was mission and fulfillment. Being a health and safety person in a corporate environment, you walk a fine line because you're representing and making sure the employees are safe, but financially you want to make sure that the organization is not being sued or you're within your budget for health and safety. So it was a very uncomfortable line, to be very honest. A real life situation, which also promoted Career Move 2.0, is I found a whole lot of toxic materials in a community that had no awareness about. And my company pretty much sat on their hands that I worked for at the time to clean it up. But because the people in the community had no idea to complain or had no idea that this material was in their community, I felt compelled to bring that knowledge to the community, and we were able to expedite some things through Urban Sustain. It became a catalyst for change in the community. So it is about fulfillment too. And I felt fulfilled, like, okay, I'm saving the world again. Back to that concept.
This is awesome. You just connect all the dots for me. So we start with that sense of alignment, and you just show me an example of what happens if we don't align ourselves with the organizations that we work with. And then you get to the final piece of fulfillment because now you are able to align yourself with the work that you've done. That's really cool. Thank you for that. Now, with all of that knowledge of alignments, I'd love to know what's your mantra as a CEO today?
I like to leave every place and every person better than before I came. I've seen students where I used to do an after school program when I ran Urban Sustainability who are grown and say, Miss Steels, and tell me about how I impacted them and made them go to school or whatever, whatever. So it's about how I impact the organization. That's my mantra. I just want to make something better than before, from my perspective, better than when I came.
How do you operationalize that mantra?
You know what? From working now with smaller organizations, my give back is technology. Most of the small organizations I work to, I don't want to generalize, they're stuck in 1990 something, where the server is not in the cloud. We have staff still printing and cutting and doing things that can be done digitally. I try to utilize the knowledge I have of all the good programs that are out there, especially when you're trying to do a customer service or association management service system, and a system that everybody could use to help our membership. So, I mean, technology has been the tool that I have used to better organizations. And then when it comes to my staff, I'm a strong believer of personal and professional development. Sometimes I've gone to organizations and staff professional development was not in the budget. So I would make sure, even if it's a small something that they can do online, if we start off there, I fight to make sure that there is some personal and professional development for staff in the budget.
I'd love to know the impact of the structure you put in place to really highlight that betterments of the organizations. Do you have any example that you can share with us?
I have a fantastic example of a win and a loss. So I'm gonna go back to my first ED job, and I was downgraded to interim ED. I had a fight with the board to get their system to the cloud, to get the staff laptops, because they all had still the big old hard drives. And that was right before the pandemic. And my old staff called me up and was like, we get to work from home now because we have laptops and things are in the cloud. So while they were fighting me nail and tooth and saying how unimportant it was, and it got me out of that position and downgraded to an interim executive director, it was very beneficial for them during the pandemic. Sometimes I do know stuff, and that's that balance of how I was presented it. I was very forceful because I knew I was right. Didn't know why I knew it was right, but I knew that they had to be upgraded, and it worked out to their benefit even when I wasn't there.
Nice. That's awesome. Now, I'm curious, is there any connection between your chosen keyword alignment with your mantra as a CEO?
Yes, I think getting smaller organizations to grow, first, they need to be in alignment with the world. You can't function well with the small staff and not utilize technology. Also, as I said, I'm evolving again. And I'll be honest, I'm not enjoying the fight like I used to change. And so I think I'm out of alignment there too, where I am not as passionate about fighting for things that I know that they should do.
That's interesting. So we're talking about disengage with work here, when all of a sudden we no longer have the passion to fight for the thing that we know that is right.
Right.
Am
Yeah. And I'm always going to do the best I can do. But I think when you're working with a small energy association that needs, not want, that needs certain things in order for them to get to that next level. And that's what I'm saying about making someplace better than it was before, because I like to take them to that next level. I like to take your budget from 1.5 to 2.5 to 3.5, but you have to have that infrastructure in place. And if you don't believe in that infrastructure, they're going to be stagnant. And I don't want to be at a stagnant place. But I don't want to fight. So that's where that alignment comes in. I have to have that right energy and passion to say, I'm gonna fight nail and tooth. I'll wait to the next board meeting and then bring it up under a different whatever. But at this point in time, it's okay. I don't know if that's evolution of acceptance, which is a whole nother word of being in your authentic self. But I'm in line with the board. If this is what you want to do, I'll be in line with you. But now that takes me out of alignment. Is that making sense?
Does. So it
Okay.
sounds like this is my value, this is where I stand, but I have to adjust my position so that I can align with the
Yes.
other parties.
You said that well. Yes.
So
Yes.
is that going to be a sustainable relationship?
That's what I said. Who knows?
The next question I want to unpack with you is, how do we align ourselves with all of these elements? So we have this is ourselves. And then we have people who we report to. So in your scenario, it's the board. And then we have the organizations that we work with. They will have their own values. Then we have our staff. Then we have the community that we serve, so our members. And then we have the clients of your members. So how do we align ourselves with so many of these elements and at the same time protect our own self in that equation?
I believe in a strategic plan that keeps everybody in alignment, that keeps me rowing in the same direction of what they want, that keeps me guiding the staff on what they need to do, and it keeps the board on their word of what they want and don't move the goalpost every time. So for me, I am a strong advocate of having a clear-cut, workable, usable strategic plan that you could pull out, utilize. And of course, there's always going to be adjustment. It should be a live document. For me, if you don't have that and you're not willing to invest in that simple component, that's where the alignment gets off.
Love that. It looks like you are a year into this organization.
Just had our big meeting, and boy, was that a doozy.
How was it?
It was fantastic. It was in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace. And this is another thing that I'm saying about alignment. We're a nice sized organization, but I don't think we're Caesar Palace type organization. And they didn't like that when I said that. And I shouldn't say that over tape, but oh well, I do. Anybody who does meetings understand how much it costs for AV. Vegas and AV, maybe before that we were aligned with Vegas, but the members loved it. We had a good time. The CE was fantastic. Everything was great, except me in the background aching over AV costs.
It sounds like a great meetings. Congratulations on the success. So we know that strategic plan is critical, is important. We know that you are new to the role as well. At what point during this journey do you start to pick up the strategic plans and start using it to maximize your conversations with your team?
I regularly, historically, I've done it at our first board meeting, and it doesn't matter how long I've been at someplace. I'm pretty observant. I've been through this cycle multiple times. At least I would like to have a structure in place of what I identified, and then I'll try to align with the board to see what they identified, and then we come to an agreement of what the budget aligns with, because that's that alignment too. We could want the Caesar Palace light show and all those things that goes with being in Vegas and the Caesar Palace, but does that align with our budget? And that's where it all, that trifolds come together.
Nice, thank you. I'd like to move us to the last part of the conversations. What legacy do you envision to scope out for the National Dental Association?
I want to grow. I think 7,000 is good, but it's not great. I think that we do so much good work in the community that we can expand our chapters to be more engaged locally and filter that up and grow, from a grassroots. I started my own organization from a grassroots perspective. So I appreciate the chapters. So my legacy, hopefully here, is to strategically get the chapters more aligned with national and have some programs that goes back and forth. You can grow from a small program, copy it and master it and share it with the other chapters, and then you have a national program. So I want to be able to help the chapters, one, and two, I want us to grow our membership. I know that from statistics, there are more than 7,000 African-American dentists out there, and we are a great organization, and we need to get them more involved and get them more acclimated and active, which gives to the third prong. I am a public health person, and we do great work helping communities in partnership with the mobile van organization. So we do some actual outreach in the actual communities that need it, and to grow that component, because we have that three-pronged approach. It's just how we grow.
I think for the first part about chapters, it sounds like you're referring to scalability.
Thank you.
There we go.
Yes, that was the word.
Nice, nice. Now, this is interesting when we talk about membership, because I remember one of your focus was on developing the future generations of dentists. Is there any initiatives that you put together specifically focused on this priority?
Well, NDA is unique in the fact that we're an umbrella organization for the Student National Dental Association. Again, connecting those dots for not only the students, but we also have under our umbrella the National Association of Dental Assistants and Dental Hygienists. So meeting those who are already in the profession and growing them up to become dentists or getting them involved to become dentists is one component that we were looking at, but also keeping the students when they graduate involved in the NDA. So as they career grow, they can grow with NDA. So there's a two-pronged approach there to grow those who are already in the profession and elevate them to the next level, and or work with the students to make sure we have what's my chairman of the board introduced or reintroduced is a pinning session. So throughout the US, we had a pinning session day, and every African-American student who graduated, who was part of SNDA, which is our Student Dental Association, became a member of NDA the day they graduated. And virtually, I forgot how many people were on virtually, but we were able to have a representative from NDA physically at each place, and they pinned them, and we had a nice dinner. So it's actually recognizing and engaging them early on is the key.
Thank you so much for that. Now, Gen Z's attitude towards association membership is such a hot topic for so long. Have you observed any trends, anything that works, anything that didn't work among your cohort?
Yes. So what's in it for me? And the internet can provide that. I think the big difference, and maybe because of who we serve and who I serve, that we've been able to do is to show how we deviate, how we're different than your regular CE that you would get. So for example, and I'm not the professional in dentistry, so I don't want to go too far in it, but having caries and issues in lower income community is huge and easily solved with the scaling and your 6 months checkup, and a component of our CE focusing on that and focusing on issues. So we recognize problems, but we have specialized CE that addresses it, which I don't think a lot of people do.
Nice, thank you for that. We're getting to the last question of the episode, and I hope you enjoy this one. Imagine if the National Dental Association is a fictional character, who would it be and why?
Oh, okay. I have to think about that one. A fictional character. Oh my, you stumped me on this one, so I am stalling as I'm trying to think. I'm a Disney fan, a Disney movie from out of my head. Listen to this. I will call us Cinderella because we are already kings and queens, and I don't think others know that yet. And when we actually get to the ball, we're gonna meet the community and meet the members who are gonna grow us, and we're gonna become the kings and queens of the field. That's the best analogy I could get.
I love that. I feel excited hearing about it. So, as the CEO of Cinderella, how do you ensure that your members are always kings and queens?
Because the shoe fits, because there's the right fit for the right communities, even if you're not serving the communities that are underserved. We provide the right training, we provide the right networking. Unless you're at Meharry or Howard University Dental School, which is African American HBCU dental schools, most dental students who are African American, there are maybe 3 or 4 in their classes, and they feel very isolated. So we give them a place to where the shoe fits, that you could come and you're among your people and you can feel free to be yourself. You become your queen. It fits.
That is so cool. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
That's inspirational. This is the end of the episode. Thank you again for spending time with me and sharing your wisdom with our listeners.
For first, it was a pleasure, and thank you for inviting me. My name is Tammy Dillard Steels, and you are listening to Humans of Authenticity. the CEO Special Edition.